County Commissioners to order. We thank you for being here. You can see we're we're down two. Chairman Tate is not with us, and Mr. Higdon, if you don't know, had a death in his family, and the funeral was today, and he may be a little late arriving, so and we'll certainly remember that in our moment of silence. But we're glad you're here, and we do have a pretty healthy agenda, so we'll get started, and we'll begin with announcements. Mr. Manager.
I have none.
Ms. Shields.
No, sir.
I have one announcement, a very important announcement. This coming Saturday at 2 p.m., Seaman Frank Wood, who gave his life with 428 other brave soldiers on Pearl Harbor, at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, is coming home. He'll be coming home to be laid to rest in Macon County this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. at Carson Cemetery. All gave some and some gave all. Mr. Frank Wood, along with his comrades on the USS Oklahoma, gave all. It's a very interesting story. In his obituary, he was 23 years old. He was on duty of the USS Oklahoma. He went on duty on October 12th, 1940. And his obituary states that what they did, a lot of these remains that they recovered from the USS Oklahoma, they've been moved twice so far. And a lot of the remains were commingled. And so now they're trying to find the DNA. And they have traced this DNA, and miraculously they traced the DNA to a niece and nephew. And the niece happened to live in Macon County. And so with that, the nephew lived in Colorado. And so they're all here now. They're in Franklin as of today. So there'll be a special detail coming from Washington, D.C. An admiral will be doing the service. There'll be a shuttle leaving from the American Legion beginning at 12 o'clock. If you've never been to Carson Cemetery, it is located almost directly behind Macon Valley Nursing Center. So if you'd like to attend, there will be a courtesy of Macon Transit. There will be some courtesy vehicles there to take you there and pick you up and bring you back. There's hardly any or no parking there at Carson Cemetery. So all of our veterans are heroes, and but this is, we all admit, is a very special occasion from 1941. So Seaman Frank Wood will be laid to rest at home this coming Saturday at 2 o'clock after these many, many years. So if you can attend that, I think you'll see a very special ceremony. He will be presenting flags that flew over the Capitol, and not only in Washington, but in Raleigh, and he'll have a special presentation from the county. So we look forward to recognizing a true hero, as all of our veterans are. So with that, any other announcements?
One announcement that you just heard the phone ring. Our chairman couldn't be with us tonight, but he did want to call in and listen to the meeting. Jim, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear. My apologies. I'm not in attendance, but I'm happy to hear in. I understand I cannot vote tonight by proxy, but it's important to me to listen in. And if any of y'all have any questions, I'll be right here.
Mr. Chairman, we hope you learn a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vice
Okay,
Chairman.
good. Okay, so now we'll, if everybody will please stand, we'll have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If Commissioner Gillespie will please lead us in a pledge after the moment of silence. And we'll remember this week, not only Commissioner Higdon lost his mother-in-law, but I think all of us up here, and I think many in the audience, has lost a good friend. I lost a member of my family this week. So I think we've all, a lot of this community has lost a lot of folks this week. So just keep that in mind. A lot of Maconians and a lot of friends are having not only a tough week, but so let's remember these folks as we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Commissioner Gillespie.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
We have no public hearings. We'll go to our public comment. Mr. Jim Gray. Mr. Gray, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Just a quick word about the dog ordinance that I asked the commission to put on hold when it came up the first time. And I want to thank the commission for doing that. I want to thank Mr. Jim Buckner for rewording and reworking the ordinance. It now is very clearly aligned with state regulations, and I think is a much stronger, much better ordinance, and it resolved my issues regarding hunting dogs that I had with the ordinance. So thank you, and thanks to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. We appreciate it. Next, we have Mr. Donald Waldrop. He's going to speak about the spotlighting issue. Mr. Waldrop. Welcome, and you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. My concern is that this county has no ordinance, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, about shining lights after dark from the public highway right-of-ways. And I have seen it from the houses where I live at. I can see Cartooga Valley, quite a bit of it. I can also see the Jones Creek side as well. And I mean, I have found deers killed on my property in the past, not recently, but in the past. And I have also know that my neighbors that own the land on the Jones Creek side last fall, I actually seen one spotlight over there and then took their fence down and drove their vehicle down there to get the deer. And I think I know a lot of counties in North Carolina, mostly eastern counties, the last time I looked at a regulation book, they have ordinances or laws or whatever you want to call it that makes it illegal for people to do this. And I feel like with this county not having that ordinance or law, that it impairs the game officials, from doing their jobs and everything. So that's my concern and my issue, and I wish y'all would consider that.
Ms. Waldrop, let me tell you, and the chairman is on the phone, and those conversations are taking place.
Okay.
They have been meetings taking place. I know the chairman has met more than once, and we're having those conversations about that. And so your timing is good. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you,
Those
sir.
conversations are being taken place.
All right, thank you,
Vice
sir.
Chair, it cannot be done by ordinance, but it can be done by local bill. We need to get a local bill to the legislature.
It has to go through the legislature, and it has to come through this board first.
Yes, I mean, this is, as I understand it, this is kind of the starting.
That's right. You're exactly right.
All right,
And that conversation's being taken place.
all right, thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Tell Lacey to sit down. Tell Lacey to sit down.
I'll do that.
Next, we have Robin Woods. He's going to speak about the same issue, spotlighting and hunting on private property. Mr. Woods.
I'd just like to kind of reiterate what Donald said. Talking with some of the game enforcement people, my understanding is their hands are pretty much tied dealing with night hunting. The way things are now, if they see the person shoot the deer, they can arrest him. If they catch them in possession of an illegal deer, they can arrest him. If they're shining, they've got the gun, they may be shining a field of deer. And they come up, all they have to do is say, well, we're not hunting deer, we're hunting coyotes, we're hunting hogs, and they may not even have permission to hunt the property they're shining. So I'm kind of like Donald, I'm glad y'all are considering something. I brought these for y'all if you would like them. It has the listing of the local laws of the various counties in it. I'd kind of like y'all to look at Cherokee County. I think that's a very straightforward, simple ordinance or law. Moving on to the hunting on private property, there's 30-some counties in North Carolina that had enacted laws concerning hunting on the property of others, requiring permission from the landowner. I've had numerous problems over the years, both due to the shining and to people coming in. Even had chains cut off of gates that had posted signs right on them. But anyway, it gives the law enforcement a little more teeth in enforcing the law. And I'd kind of like y'all to look at Bertie County's hunting on private property, the way they did it. But basically, if you hunt on the property of someone else, the ethical thing and the right thing to do is go get permission. And it shouldn't be the burden on the landowner to go out and paint all his trees purple, which you may not want them painted purple just for the looks of the place. And so basically, I don't think any ethical, honest sportsman would object to it. And I just appreciate if y'all consider that. And if you'd like, I'll leave these with you because it's got all the local laws in the back of it.
Please do so. Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Yep.
And
Can y'all make sure?
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Just to say, can y'all make sure I get a copy of that? I've been familiar with the spotlighting issue. I've taken several calls back through hunting season and here recently. So I have spoken with our local game warden about enforcement and that type of thing and found out what the problems are. And I'm going to be working on those. But the private property issue, that's the first I've heard of it. But I would love to have this information in front of me so I can make a little bit more informed decision as I'm working on this.
There'll be a copy in your box, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Okay, gentlemen, any additions or changes to the agenda?
Do have one addition, if we could, to new business, add item G. It will be written acknowledgement and approval of Smoky Mountain Relay. If you'll recall, in previous years, the Smoky Mountain Relay, that a portion of which takes place in Macon County, the DOT likes for the local governing board to acknowledge that the race is taking place in their county on the dates of April 20th and April 21st. So we will need to, the board would need to authorize me to sign that. It's a letter to the person that is putting this on from Sourwood Running LLC. And you have that letter in front of you. It was not included in your agenda packet.
Essentially the same letter that we have provided the last 2 years for this event.
Okay.
Need a motion on that now?
No, we'll just add it on. Yes, sir.
Any others, Mr. Manager?
That's all I have.
Mr. Shields? Any additions? Mr. Gillespie? Any adjustments? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make that a motion.
Motion been made and second. We approve the agenda with the change as presented. All in favor say aye. Okay, we'll move on to reports and presentation. Macon Box, the robotics team. And before, as Miss Jennifer Love comes, I've had the privilege of keeping up with our STEM
program a little bit, and it's pretty remarkable what they have accomplished. And I'm not gonna steal your thunder. But she's gonna tell you about their trip to Pembroke and how, she might not say this, but the competition was much more experienced, had been at this for a much, much longer time than we had. This is our first year, right, Miss Love?
It is.
And we done really good.
We did really well.
Then we moved on to Asheville. They also were much more experienced, and we really done real good. So, Miss Love, this is our STEM coordinator for Macon County Schools, if you remember. A lot of us didn't know a lot about STEM and what it stood for, but as we've learned more about it and how important it is, I've certainly become a fan, and I think a lot of folks on this board has. So, Ms. Love, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Macon County Commissioners and Chairman of the Board. Again, my name is Jennifer Love, and I am the STEM Coordinator for Macon County Schools, and I wanted to thank the Macon County Commissioners for your support of the Macon County STEM program. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. That's basically what the acronym stands for, but what it really stands for is teaching our students problem solving and putting tools in their hands and equipment in their hands and seeing how the incredible things that they can create with that. Matching funds from the county and Macon County Schools made it possible to receive the Golden Leaf Foundation STEM grant, and these grant funds have supported professional development through Discovery Education, classroom resources such as the Discovery Education math tech books for middle and high school students. The grant has also provided funds for materials such as 3D printers and after-school initiatives such as the Project Invention through the National Inventors Hall of Fame, Science Olympiad, and our robotics program. Schools have started hosting STEM family nights, and this summer I'm excited that we'll be providing STEM activities through the Summer Adventure Camp program. We're almost 2 years into this program. I was hired almost 2 years ago, and I would love for you to view the website and see more about what we've been up to here in Macon County through the STEM program and the programs we've been implementing. And you can reach that website through the Macon County Schools website. There's a STEM tab that will take you to that link. One large part of the Macon County STEM program is the continuation of the robotics program. We're going into our 4th year for the FIRST LEGO League program, and FIRST is the company that we've decided to go with as a region. The Western North Carolina region formed a league called the SMART League, the Smoky Mountain Area Robotics Teams. And so FIRST is the company. We started with the LEGO League program. And on average, we've had 70 students every year in grades 5th through 8th grade that have participated and have gone on to competition. This past year, we started a high school level FIRST robotics competition program. And this program was made possible because of a partnership with Tectone, who provided us with a space and mentors for our students. The team has also been supported through community volunteers and parents who guided our students through the building and programming of our robot for competition. This program was grant funded this year by NASA and Duke Energy, with additional funds being contributed through community donations and fundraisers. For our rookie season, as they call us, we had 15 high school students from Franklin High School and Macon Early College participate. These students have been working on their robot since January 6th. We traveled to Georgia Tech for the kickoff, where they delivered our kit of parts in giant totes, and we drove back on the bus planning and scheming of what in the world we were going to build to solve this problem. And we've just finished competing, as you said, in 2 weekend tournaments, one at UNC Pembroke and one in UNC Asheville. They finished 33rd overall, and 32 teams go to state. So we were beyond thrilled, and I'm beyond proud of these students. We earned the Rookie Inspiration Award and the highest Rookie Seed Award. These students embody the goals of the STEM program: cooperation, critical thinking, communication, creativity, commitment, and persistence. These are the students that employers in Macon County will want to hire. The robot you see before you, as it's coming in the door here, we're glad it fit through the door. It was designed for a tournament, but the robot you see before you looks nothing like what we left with.
Don't run over the health director.
Yes, please. And I do want to introduce, this is David Fay from Macon Early College.
David,
raise your hand. And Dawson Post from Franklin High School, Enrique Garcia from Franklin High School, and Adriana Shirley from Franklin High School. We have, like I said, 15 students on the team, and our Macon Early College students are all on a field trip to Selma, Alabama this weekend. So the Franklin High School group was able to come out and join us this evening. I'm going to let them tell you a little bit more about the evolution our robot kind of went through over these last few weekends. But we hit several bumps along the way, and they persisted, and to see them work these issues through was, to me, I just sat there giddy with a smile on my face, because it's exactly what STEM is. The robot would come back into our pit area, discombobulated with things hanging off and that weren't supposed to be hanging off, and they immediately went to work and managed to get it back together for the next round. And it was pretty intensive. We arrived Friday at 5 o'clock, left that evening around 10 o'clock at night, back at it at 7 o'clock in the morning the next morning on Saturday, left again at about 9 o'clock that evening, and then we had competition all day Sunday as well from 9 to 5. So it was get the robot out there as fast as you could, bring it back in, fix it if you can, get it back out there to compete. So it was a pretty exciting few days. I would like to thank you again for the support, and for Macon County Schools for having the vision of a STEM program in our community, and for being willing to support this initiative, not only for our students, but for the future growth and workforce needs of our community. And I would like to invite them, if they would like, just to come up and say a few words about Rufus is what we have lovingly named the robot, which sort of sounds like suffer backwards. It's not quite spelled that way, but we did go through a little suffering over the last several months. But would any of y'all like to come up and say a couple words?
Sure they would. Tell us your name one more time.
Adriana Shirley.
Adriana, welcome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, we had quite a bit of difficulty in the beginning. And I found that a lot of our problems really lied in funding eventually. But like towards the end, we were doing okay in the beginning, but a lot of our problems really lied in funding. Like we wouldn't have been able to make it to state if we had made it, because we didn't have the funds to continue on. And a lot other than that, we were kind of understaffed, so to speak, because we didn't really get very many people to join the team. There were a lot of people that signed up and didn't show up, which is a big problem. But I think we're working on a policy for the signing up and not showing up thing. So I just, as far as the robot goes, it went through a lot of things. We had a arm that went up to like 6 feet high originally, and it kind of fell over backwards when we did that. But it kind of had to come off because it wasn't stable enough in the competition field, really.
So are you already planning for next year?
Yeah, we are. We're trying to figure out ways to get more mentors involved, because we were having trouble with that. And Miss Jennifer pretty much ran the whole thing, so she didn't really have much of a break time, which kind of caused her to get behind in a little bit of other things apparently, but we had some trouble with stuff. Okay. But yeah, we're still planning for next year. We plan to make it as far as we can.
Well, we just think it's wonderful. I mean, to go to somewhere like UNC Pembroke as a rookie team with all these, they've been doing it for years. I mean, I checked on it, and they unlimited and experienced, and for y'all to finish one spot from making it to state. And you seen what the stuff they had. I'm
yeah,
sure.
it was pretty bad. It was
So
pretty serious.
I think it's absolutely marvelous that what y'all have accomplished. I really do. And I think a lot of it's attributed to this lady standing right back here. So, but y'all the one who did the work, so.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I don't even know how to turn it on. I was like, if they don't come, this robot's not moving into this room.
Right.
Yeah. I talked to some of the veteran teams when we were there, and talked to this one team that had been there for 11 years, and they said that in all honesty, we were one of the best rookie teams, because like they had helped a bunch of them that never even showed up to the competitions. They'd show up and then they'd sleep through the whole thing. And so apparently we did very well.
This board for years have had conversations about brain drain and what it does to our community and young folks having to leave.
Yeah.
And there's some jobs here, like where you've done your testing at Tecton and different places that, and so we think the STEM program that y'all just may stay at home, make a good living, and the STEM program may have a part of that.
Yeah.
Did all of y'all make a trip down to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, us and some other on the
Mr. Chairman, you're gonna have to indulge me for just a minute.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman happens to be a Georgia graduate. He's the other school in Georgia. University.
Wait a minute.
Look, this might be of interest to y'all. My son's graduates May, 1st of May from Georgia Tech, with a computer science degree. In his last semester of classes, it was a group project, and there was graduate and undergraduate students in that class. One of the components of that class was they had to assemble a robot, program it, and make it work. There's 3 people in his group. The other 2 said, we have no idea. My son said, I had the benefit of a program in Macon County that allowed me to work on a robot. It was no problem. So you're going to take stuff with you from this that you can use in the future. It's a big deal. And Jennifer, thank you very much. And I really appreciate y'all being willing to do that. It's a big deal, and we appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, we're proud of you, too.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any of y'all want to speak?
Go Dogs.
Welcome. Tell us your name one more time.
I'm Dawson Post
Okay.
from
Well,
Franklin High School. And first I would like to thank Jennifer Love for all the work that she put in to help, make this a success. I mean, she really pioneered the STEM program here. And one thing I would like to say, STEM really taught me perseverance. Because in our competitions, our arm broke a total, I think, of 3 times over the course of competitions. And that is what we were able to put together actually in the competitions between the 30-minute periods we had between matches. The arm broke and in one of the competitions, and we literally had to rush it back to the pits and make an icy intensive care unit for the robot. And then we pretty much had to dismantle the arm and get it disconnected and then tape up all the loose ends and then come up with a plan to make it more effective on the field than just a driving chassis. And this happened a number of times during the competitions, and I was just really taught, how to persevere through, odds that you wouldn't think we would be able to succeed in.
and not take a hammer to it.
Yeah. It taught, I think, most of the team, perseverance and how to say, look, this is what we've got, this is what we got on site, and this is what we can do. Thank you.
Well, we're proud of y'all. Miss Love, we cannot thank you enough. We know that from other folks have communicated to a lot of us on this board how you've worked with these kids and give them every opportunity to be successful, and you've done that. So a lot of thanks goes to you. And thank you, and to all the team, the ones who are not here. Let's give all these young folks a good hand. Ms. Love, you have any closing comments?
I did just want to say, James Ivy is here from Tecton as well, and again, I don't know if he intended this, but when he came to me and said, we'd like to help with the robotics program.
And you know we did pay the light bill. If you that switch right back up right there.
Oh, okay.
We're in the dark enough up here. So thank you.
But I really appreciate them being willing to tackle this. We really didn't know what we were getting into in a lot of ways. We'd watched the videos online, and it looked like the natural progression from the Lego League program into a high school program like this. And so I really appreciate their willingness to open their business to a group of students from the high schools here in the community and allow us to use their space and their expertise. They helped us with computer programming, writing the code for the robot, with the electrical work, with the mechanical work, strategy, I mean, everything. So I really do owe a debt of gratitude to them for being willing to help us out. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
I see Dr. Baldwin here. Appreciate your support of the program.
Just can't say enough about Ms. Love. Our relationship with Tecton and other businesses in the county, and of course these citizens. And thank the commission for your support.
Makes it a whole lot easier.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Above my pay grade.
That's good. That's great.
Okay, so we'll move on. Under old business, consideration of revised animal control ordinance. Public Health Director Jim Brutner. Mr. Brutner, welcome. And gentlemen, I think you have that revised ordinance in front of you. Welcome, Jim. You have the floor.
Thank you. You have a copy that has a lot of markups.
Yes, we do.
This is the second time that you've seen it. There are only two major changes from the last time. They were both made by suggestions from the two folks that spoke at the last public hearing, Mr. Gray, and I did not know the veterinarian's name. But I did meet with Mr. Gray, and he was very pleased with the change that we made. We also took the two letters that were given to Commissioner Gillespie, and we made all the changes in one of the letters. It was mostly grammatical stuff with the ordinance. But the second letter was about a dog licensing fee, and we left that out of the letter, or out of the ordinance, to address that as a separate issue. The two changes that we did make, if you look at the packet that you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, on page 2, there's an area in the center of the page that deals with adequate shelter. And the veterinarian that spoke talked about large animal sheltering, and by just taking and reworking that paragraph from the original ordinance, we were able to make it and separate it out so that it's very reflective of large animal sheltering and small animal sheltering, and how to maintain that shelter. The second change that we made based on Mr. Gray's comments at the public hearing is 1, 2, on page 10 at the top. It deals with...
I'm sorry, Jim, page 10.
Yeah, page 10. There's no page numbers on this. I didn't realize that
We
until just now.
noticed
The relationship to hunting laws. Basically, there were several sections of the ordinance that dealt with hunting and hunting rules. Based on Mr. Gray's comments, we just went back and re-looked at the hunting laws, and we eliminated all of the comments throughout the ordinance about hunting laws except for that one section that speaks to, it's 90-9, relation to hunting laws. And we just added that it shall be unlawful and a violation of this chapter for any person to fail to comply with the requirements of North Carolina General Statute 113, Article 22, and other laws of the state relating to the use of dogs during hunting. That answered the question. It eliminated all the complicated little pieces and parts in there. Now we're separated out fox hunting and several other things, and it just refers back straight to the general statute for anything to do with dogs and hunting. It made it a whole lot clearer and a whole lot easier, and it'll be a whole lot easier for us to enforce.
Okay.
So
That's the only two changes from what we saw.
that's the only two changes from the original that we provided at the last meeting, actually back in January, I think, or February, December, a
Now,
long time ago.
Mr. Attorney, if I understand this right, the commissioners that are here tonight can, if they so choose, vote on this, but it does take a unanimous vote of all the commissioners.
That is correct. In order to pass on the first presentation of an ordinance of this variety, all commissioners on this board must vote for it. Obviously, we're one short this evening, two short actually. So you can go ahead and get the first passing done this evening, and then the matter would need to be added to the agenda again next month, and it would be voted on again if that is the pleasure of the board to adopt it. The difference would be it would not require 5 to adopt it next month.
Okay. So, Mr. Gillespie, you comfortable with going ahead tonight with the?
Yes, sir. Given, just a quick comment, given I was kind of the one that questioned it to begin with, I think this is a great representation of what happens when public comment is taken. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Jim Gray, and everybody at the health department that worked with Jim to make the changes that I think everybody's comfortable with. So thank you to all parties concerned. Absolutely.
Mr. Shields, you're comfortable with going ahead tonight and approving? So with that, gentlemen, any further comment, Mr. Butler?
Just the only comment I want to make is that we did take it to the Board of Health at their continuation meeting in January from December, and they approved it unanimously.
Okay, with that, gentlemen, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with the revisions of Macon County, the revisions to the animal control, to the Court of Ordinance of the County of Macon, to the, how do you want to word that? I mean, are you going to change the name of it?
It's the restated,
Just
amended
restated,
and restated.
to the restated animal control ordinance.
Correct.
So moved.
The motion been made and seconded that we accept the changes to the restated animal control ordinances as presented. Any further discussion? If not,
I'm in
all in
favor.
favor say aye. Aye. So,
Thank you.
so that's one vote. We'll take the next vote next month.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Bratton. I know we have some folks here for our next presentation, consideration of resolution to designate a portion of Warrior Road in honor of Dr. Tom McNish. So I know, so if you ladies want to come up, Becky, are you the only one? Come on up, Becky. We have Miss Becky Bird here. She's a long-time friend of Dr. McNish, and the attorney has prepared a very well written, may I say, Mr. Attorney, resolution requesting that the North Carolina Department of Transportation dedicate a portion of the Warrior Road in Macon County in honor of Dr. Thomas M. McNish.
Yes.
And this is the first step, Ms. Bird, in that being happened. If with the unanimous vote of this board, then it will go on to the DOT, and then the process will be, I think it's just a matter of process from there with the DOT.
Exactly, yes,
And
thank
some
you so
money.
much, yes.
So,
Some money.
with that, we'll read the resolution, and then we'll ask for a vote.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNish and his family have long had ties to Macon County, North Carolina, and whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNish distinguished himself as a pilot of the United States Air Force during the Vietnam War by having flown 45 combat missions before being shot down over North Vietnam and being taken prisoner of war in 1966, and whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNish's internment as a prisoner of war lasted 6.5 years before he was repatriated during Operation Homecoming on March 4th, 1973, and whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNish's bravery in combat and earned him numerous medals, including the Silver Star with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Legion of Merit, the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star with V device for valor, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Air Medal with 4 leaf clusters, the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Air Force Achievement Medal, the Presidential Unit Citation, the Purple Heart with 1 oak leaf cluster, the Prisoner of War Medal, the Distinguished Unit Citation, the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry, the Vietnam Service Medal, and with 15 campaign stars. And whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNeish, having survived his ordeal as prisoner of war, returned to the United States and completed medical school at the Emory University School of Medicine in 1978, and whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNeish had a distinguished career in the United States Air Force as a hospital commander, aviation accident investigator, and has advanced the science of G-force effects on flight crew members, and whereas Dr. Thomas M. McNeish's life contributions exemplify the United States Air Force motto, integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do, and whereas dedicating a portion of the Warrior Road in Macon County in the vicinity of Dr. Thomas M. McNeish's family home place, located upon Warrior Road, would be a small token of appreciation for a man who has served our nation so admirably, and whereas the Macon County Board of Commissioners desires to honor Dr. Thomas M. McNeish for his sacrifice and dedication to his country and his community, now therefore be it resolved that the Macon County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim and honor Dr. Thomas M. McNeish for his bravery, fortitude, and service to the United States of America and Macon County, and be it further resolved that the Macon County Board of Commissioners hereby respectfully requests that the North Carolina Department of Transportation dedicate a portion of Warrior Road in Macon County in the vicinity of Dr. Thomas M. McNeish's family home place, located upon Warrior Road, in honor of Dr. Thomas M. McNeish, and further request that appropriate signage be erected to designate this honor of Dr. Thomas M. McNeish. Read and will be approved by a vote of these members in attendance and adopted in this regular meeting of the Macon County Board of County Commissioners on this, the 10th day of April, 2018. Now, before we ask for a vote, Miss Becky, is that the kind of resolution you were expecting?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Very good.
Very well written.
Yes.
Thank you, Chester. So, Board, you've heard the resolution and honoring this special citizen and the special Maconian. We're going to rescue him from Texas very soon. So, with that, would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
Make a motion to adopt this resolution as read.
The motion been made and seconded that we adopt the resolution requesting that the North Carolina Department of Transportation dedicate a portion of the Warrior Road in honor of Dr. Thomas M. McNeish. Any further discussion?
I can't help but vote on this one too.
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
With a very unanimous decision that will be passed along to the DOT, and you can tell the others that have worked so hard on this, Ms. Becky, that we will certainly, and we will watch it all the way through. We promise you that.
I surely will. And once we get the copy of the minutes and go to the next thing, of course, is the financial end of it, which understands around $2,000 for the sign.
This will be signed, and this will be signed tonight, and we'll send it right on maybe.
Yeah, sign tonight and we'll send it on.
We'll send it tomorrow.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Mr. Warren Cade is here, and he's going to explain about Macon Valley Fire Department, Fire District map, and there's some changes in some laws and regulations. This is a certain Mountain Valley. Welcome, Warren, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I'm here tonight asking for the board's approval of a revised map of the Mountain Valley Fire District, recognizing and reinstating their facility on Coon Creek Road as a recognized substation. If most of you remember, a couple of years ago, those folks actually came to us and asked that that department be changed from a substation to a satellite station, and the reason was they were having some difficulty maintaining enough members. And at the time, they needed 20 members for a main station and 8 for a substation to be officially recognized. A couple of things have changed since then. Number one, their membership has improved. Number two, in January, North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal will change the requirements for staffing of a fire department. And originally, it was 20 members for a main department, 8 per substation, and now that has changed to 15 members for a main station and 4 for a substation. So now they don't have to have 19 folks as opposed to 28. And then thirdly, about 2 weeks ago, we actually re-inspected those folks, and they now have 28 folks on the roster. So they have more than enough folks to staff that to meet the requirements of OSFM to have this recognized as a substation. Time is also the essence on this. These folks are undergoing a rating inspection in 2 weeks. We're not changing the exterior boundaries of their response district. They're not going anywhere more or less than what they were before. But what this does is this covers their entire district in what's known as a 5-mile insurance district, so that therefore when they receive a lower rating out of this inspection and at the end of April, that it'll probably take 90 to 180 days for them to be notified. Their entire district now, if we recognize this building as a substation, will receive the benefits of that lower rating. So tonight I'm asking for that approval. I actually have colored copies of the maps if anybody'd like to see the map. And I know, Mr. Bill, you always complain. I'm sorry, you always bring up some discussion, but I don't bring a map big enough for you to see.
Well, I just can't never see it.
I made you the map tonight in case you have any
Well,
questions.
thank you so much. I want to put on my Walmarts.
And again, this is no big change for them. This is the way they were in the past. Now we're just going to reinstate it.
The difference between a substation and a satellite is number of personnel.
Number of personnel and the equipment requirements for the facility. The satellite station is mainly for the department's convenience to serve an area. The substation recognition actually moves that district 5-mile insurance district line so that the people within that area receive the benefits of a lower protection class. It means more to the homeowner.
The satellite has now been changed to a
So,
substation. Nothing changed physically.
Nothing has changed externally on the response area. They still go to the same area. We just look at it differently within that response boundary.
The motion been made and seconded that we accept the changes as presented by Mr. Cave concerning the Mountain Valley Fire Department to reinstate their substation and revise their district map reflecting the same. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. So, now Warren is,
You can have that.
no, I don't want it. Up here at the top, you know, we talked one time about right in here, so no changes, everything stays just.
No changes as of yet right there. Once we go through this rating inspection, we'll be able to see where all the chips fall with that, and then if we need to look at any of these areas, we can certainly do those. There's some other issues that we're gonna be looking at with some boundaries that Chester and I are gonna talk about in the near future, but this doesn't change anything external within it.
And I am glad the total is up.
Now that they can maintain it as old standard.
Wonderful.
No, I can see it.
Take that, put it out. Thank you, Warren. Anything else, Warren?
No, sir.
Everything else good?
Yes.
Nobody's busy? EMS not busy? I guarantee you. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
Okay, next we have Miss Karen Wallace. Miss Wallace, just jump over those pews and come right on up.
Mr. Bill, I would like to say as Ms. Wallace approaches that, you know, if you'll recall that we basically had to start from ground zero with the community funding pool, recruit membership, and Karen has been an integral part of getting that ball rolling. She has really taken the task of getting these members together and educating new members and to get us to where we are today. So Karen, can't thank you enough for that. And I noticed the note, we are still working on the community funding pool bylaws, and we hope to be getting those to you soon. But thank you for your efforts this year in making this happen.
Well, and before you start, Karen, we always, you know, for the years I've been here, it's never easy. It's never.
No, it's not.
It's never easy, and it seems to get tougher. And I did read the recommendation that I think at budget time we need to have that discussion, and you can speak to that tonight about some of these things that's year after year after year that's placed in the funding pool that basically ends up being funded, should be a line item in the budget, and that's basically what this is. So with that, you have the floor, Ms. Wallace, and to echo what the county manager said, you know, I'm sure it wasn't easy starting from where you did, so but thank you so much.
Well, it was a great opportunity to really learn some history of the community funding pool. I've been a member of the community funding pool task force, not from the very beginning, but shortly after it was formed. But I had an opportunity, along with Jennifer Jones and Bobby Contino, who are original members of the task force. We learned a lot. Some of us didn't realize that there were some things in the commission notes that we had been unaware of. So it was a wonderful opportunity to revisit the history and process. And I know we met with Derek and with Chester a few months ago to talk about the development of bylaws. And the commission did appoint new committee members. We have 13 committee members now on our task force, and I want to thank Diane Cotton, who is also a task force member, for being here tonight. I invited the task force to come and give support, so I was delighted that Diane joined us. We are looking forward to the bylaws with a lot of new membership. Really looking for the guidance that those bylaws will provide us as we work our way through the process. As Mr. Beal indicated, it's not an easy process. We had 17 applications this year, and this year's process was delayed a little bit while we were trying to get some of those logistics and procedures under revision. And so things were delayed a little bit, but we still had 17 applications for grant funds. The county commission allocates $75,000 to the task force, makes it available for nonprofit agencies within the county. We had requests for over $129,000 in funding from the 17 agencies who requested funds. Through a process of reviewing the grant applications and discussion with task force members, we are recommending funding of the $75,000 total to 13 nonprofit agencies. There are 4 that we are not recommending for funding through the community funding pool. One of those is the Macon County Fair Association, and we thought perhaps the county might consider them independent from the community task force. We really felt that they probably weren't in the same category as many of the other agencies, so would ask for your consideration of that. We thought it was a worthy project. They need roofing for the structures there. The agencies that we're funding include the Arts Council of Macon County, community care clinics of both Franklin and Highlands Cashers, the Highlands Community Child Development Center, Kids Place, Literacy Council of Highlands, the Macon County Humane Society, Macon Program for Progress for their Parents as Teachers program, Mountain Mediation Services, NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Health, REACH of Macon County, Read to Me, and the Teen Challenge of the Smokies. So those do total $75,000, and I hope my spreadsheet was right this year. Well, I don't think I'll ever forget that one. I'd be happy to answer any questions. As Mr. Beal alluded to, there are a couple of agencies, 2 or 3 agencies that apply every year for funding through the community funding pool. And we would really like to approach the commission, as several of our members indicated, new members have indicated as well, that you consider funding some of these agencies directly and not through the community funding pool task force. There's a wide discrepancy of nonprofit agencies in our community, and some of them are very established programs and very valuable programs with a long track record. And we think they've earned the possibility for the commission to consider funding them directly through special appropriations. There are other nonprofits that are really just getting started. They have no paid staff. They don't have a long track record, or if they do, they're still, they have a lot of turnover because it's a volunteer staff and a volunteer board. And those folks probably need the assistance of the community task force dollars really to help them get established and accomplish their projects. So we would love to have some of the task force members meet with commission members to discuss the possibility of considering some of those agencies to be funded directly by the commission.
We won't talk about specific agencies, but you do have some of those on there.
We do, yep.
I can see 3 right out.
Right. I think you'd probably pick the same 3 that we have. And historically, as I said, I've been on the task force for many years, and those 2 or 3 agencies come up every time. So, and with only 75,000, many of these agencies are requesting 10,000 each, and with 17 applications, and there are often more than 20, even as many as 25. Trying to grant the amount of money that's being requested. Obviously, we're not able to do that.
We increased that amount 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
We increased it from 50
to 25,000,
to 75,000. We increased it by
Correct.
25,000.
And it's, we all do a great job. Thank you, Ms. Cotton. It's, so with that, gentlemen, any questions for Ms. Wallace? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendations that's presented by the community funding pool for and so we can dispense this money, number 1.
I know that many of those agencies are really anxious for it.
They need the funding.
They do.
So, and that funding has been set aside, Ms. Lori, and we know that. So, any questions for Ms. Wallace? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we accept the recommendations as presented by the funding pool.
Commissioner Bill, I would gladly make that motion, and to Karen, thank you. And if you would, please pass that along to all the members. Thank you, we appreciate
I will do
what
that.
they do. It's not an easy task. When you've got $1 and you got $2 worth of request. So a big thank you to you and all of us.
I will pass that along.
Thank you.
Motion been made.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. We accept the recommendations from the community funding pool as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. So, Mr. Manager, can you give Ms. Wallace and Ms. Cotton any idea of when we might be able to get these requests out, as in paid?
I think there's normally letters that have to be signed.
Right.
And I don't know who does that.
I think
We'll
Pam.
We'll get the letters
Yeah.
drafted, get the letters signed, and I'll be in touch with you
Okay.
before then.
Sounds great.
So that,
Great.
so we'll
Right,
move it
we
along.
wanna
then.
move that
We
funding
know it's-
along, right.
And our apologies to these folks. We did reorganize, I think by the time, I
Right.
think we all agree, and I think the manager and I think the board agrees and Chester agrees that when we do get everything said and done, that it might be a better process, we hope. And
Yeah, I think it was
for
a
everybody,
great
yeah.
opportunity.
Even
Yeah.
though they was delaying this, and some of them have called. I mean,
I'm sure they have, because
as
they've
they
called
should.
me.
As they should.
I just want to say one more thing with the robotics folks who were here tonight, which was really wonderful to see. We do have a family science night, of part of the NC Science Festival at the library on Thursday at 5:30. Sometimes people hear about STEM for students and they think it's only for school students, but it isn't. It's for everybody. And our family science night is focused on the science of food and drink, and we will have STEM experts on hand that evening. In fact, Jennifer Love is going to be there manning one of our stations. There'll be a lot of hands-on activities, so we hope that
Free samples.
yeah, free samples. The refrigerator is stuffed full.
Check it out.
Yeah, so don't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Next, we have some resolutions regarding South Macon Elementary School. Ms. Lori, our finance director, you have those resolutions in front of you. Ms. Lori.
Okay, the first resolution will authorize me to, myself or my designee, to make application to the LGC for a loan, as well as solicit proposals from banks, to get the best interest rate for our loan. And it also authorizes the county manager and myself, working along with the county attorney, to negotiate for a contract, with the bank once we get to that step. And then the second resolution is a reimbursement resolution, which anytime we enter into a capital project of this nature, where we're going to have a loan that may be issued, a few months in the future, this allows us to reimburse ourselves once the loan funds are in place for any capital expenditures that we may have incurred prior to that loan date.
Good, gentlemen, you've seen the two resolutions. We'll vote on them one at a time. The first resolution is authorizing the filing of an application for approval of a financing agreement. In other words, what Lori's going to do is get us the best deal we can for the money and get approval from LGC. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to give Lori and permission to go ahead and pursue those. This is, of course, for the new additions at South Macon School.
Make that motion that we proceed with this as Lori chooses.
Do we have a second? I'll second. The motion been made and seconded on the resolution authorizing the filing of an application for approval of financing agreement, authorizing the North Carolina Junior Statute 6160A-20 and providing for certain other related matters thereto. Any further discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
I think I understand what this is for, and this is not obligating us to finance this project, and it does leave the door open for us to have discussions about paying this out of fund balance if that board.
This resolution would not obligate you to finance it. It's just, what it is essentially doing is paving the way to accomplish this project by financing. As you know, you cannot secure a loan with real property unless you get local, local government commission to approve it, and this is the starting of that process. And in order for them to do that, they want to see that you've actually made a good faith attempt at getting competitive financing rates, and so we have to get that out there.
I would say though, if there's going to be a consensus on the board to take it out of fund balance, to do it sooner rather than later, because there's a lot of work involved in making application to the LGC, soliciting proposals to the banks, etc. Because I'm on a timeline here. I'll have to get the bank proposals out and be due back in May.
Truly,
And
that's a very good idea to have that discussion sooner rather than
yes.
later, because you have, if it should come to pass that it's paid for other than by financing, it would also enable the person who ultimately takes this job some better weather to work.
Well, I think knowing Lori, we ought to give her the opportunity to see what kind of interest rate she can get. I mean, we've been very fortunate. So far, I mean, we've got, if we can get, I don't know what the interstate you can get, but I mean, you've done really good.
Funds for this, aren't you?
No,
Something else?
funds is something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, just like I was saying, you know, this sets the ball to rolling. We're gonna get the proposals for financing in May. We'll be having a public hearing in June on the financing agreement. We'll be going to the LGC in July.
Yeah.
So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, we've never used fund balance for school construction, have we? No.
not
And we
usually
let
that
the
big of
school
a
put,
chunk.
and the school is put up as a real property. In other words, we take the school back and do it
It's
for
gonna be
collateral.
close to a $3 million project. Normally, we don't hit that big of a chunk out of fund balance.
No,
The
not
attorneys are
really.
gonna need some guidance as well, because there's gonna need to be a interlocal agreement prepared between the county and the school board, and that will hinge on which way this is going to some degree as well.
But with our bond rating and I think even though interest rates may inch up from where it was,
Interest rates have ticked up,
but I still think you'll get a good interest rate.
Thank you for that clarification. I would like to have that further discussion, perhaps when all members are here, about the potential of paying that. I think we have a healthy fund balance. There's no doubt, I'm sure we would get a great interest rate, but we have dollars sitting there that we could potentially fund that with and not take on any additional debt. Might be a healthy thing to do if that's the pleasure of the board.
The only thing I'd say to that is what we've got looking down the road at our capital improvement plan. Put all those eggs in the basket, so.
If we're willing to pay for some of that out of the fund balance, then that's
I think that would be,
But
I think you'll get a better interest rate with this than you will with some of those projects. You agree, Lori?
Schools
We don't
get
know that.
priority.
schools do, yeah.
School, you'll get a better
Banks are
interest rate
more
with school than
favorable.
anything else.
Yeah, a good example, Parker Meadows.
Yeah.
The banks didn't wanna bid. We
Yeah.
got one bank.
Got
That was
one
it.
bank, that's
So,
right.
but with the school project, you typically get a lot of bank interest.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm good to, you know, if y'all wanna consider that, but you definitely need to talk about it at your May 8th meeting.
Yeah, I would recommend strongly
Because-
that go on the May 8th
Yeah,
agenda,
because
if that's gonna be discussed.
I've gotta turn in my application to the LGC like that second Tuesday in June. You have to get it to them a month ahead of their July meeting, so y'all
If there's
definitely.
anything but a school, I would say definitely have that meeting, but just knowing what we've got in the past,
Yeah,
you know, the schools especially.
but May 8th would be the ideal time, you know, if Carl wants to discuss that with y'all.
That's
the
fine.
full board, then,
Could also give us an opportunity to update Carl and the other board members about Macon Middle School. Aren't they meeting this Friday?
Well, we don't know that yet.
Right, but
You know, that could be another,
some money.
yeah. Okay, so the next one is, declaring the intent of the county to reimburse itself for the capital expenditures. This is a resolution of the county of Macon County declaring the intent of the county of Macon County.
Right.
to- Did you not, we not vote on it? We never did vote on the first one?
Got a motion and a second.
We had a vote, okay, so we'll go back and vote on it. So, we have a motion and a second to vote on authorizing the filing of an application for approval of financing agreement. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So we'll vote on the second one, the resolution of the county, of the Macon, declaring the intent of the county, Macon, North Carolina, to reimburse itself for capital expenditures paid in connection with certain improvements to South Macon Elementary School from the proceeds of certain installment purchase contract to be executed and delivered in the calendar year 2018. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion presented.
Okay? Motion been made and seconded to the resolution. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.
thank you.
Now we have, I think, Roy, you're still up.
Lottery funds, yes,
So
sir.
application for education lottery funds, get our 17%.
Yes, sir. So as as each year, I come to the Board of Commissioners. Every year I go to the public school building capital fund website and pull down, okay, what's sitting in our lottery fund account at this time, and this year it's $297,259.24. The school board approved this on March 26th, and so we just need your approval tonight as the Board of Commissioners, and then I can, send it off in the mail tomorrow if you.
What was the number again?
$297,259.24. And if
we
you missed
use
it, Ms. Shields, this money is earmarked.
That's right.
School
No.
construction or a principal and interest payments on school
On
construction.
debt.
Yeah, on
So
that.
this money is already budgeted. I budgeted $300,000 in the debt service fund to help, pay some of the school-related debt of the county. So
This is our 40% that was promised from education lottery. And this is a good 17.8%. So anyway, we'll entertain a motion to allow Laura to go ahead and apply for our, to get our $297,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We go ahead and apply for that.
That's easy. Seconded, did
We
Mr.
had to-
Carl?
Carl and I had to watch it the other day.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to give, recommendation to give Lori, permission to go ahead and apply for our lottery funds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
thank you.
The next one is the lease with the town of Franklin regarding gazebo property. Nobody's here representing the town, I don't think. So I hope everybody's had a chance to read the lease.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Attorney.
about a week ago, Derek and myself met with the town manager as well as the town attorney. The existing lease between the county and the town for the gazebo property, the square out here, west to the, I guess that would be sort of to the east of us, is currently leased to the town for public entertainment purposes. That lease will run out the 1st, I believe the 1st or 5th of May, and they are looking to renew it. The existing lease was for a period of 20 years. Sounds like a long period of time, but by the terms of that present lease, either party could end it upon 30 days notice to the other. The new proposal is for a lease for 30 years, 10 more years than the existing lease. And it has a similar provision, but instead of either party being able to terminate upon notice to the other party upon 30 days, this document is drafted by the town's attorney, will provide that the lease could be terminated upon, I believe it was 180 days notice.
I just had several questions about the lease, Mr. Attorney. Number one, the alcohol conversation that the town is having at this time about having alcohol at all their events, which there's no alcohol allowed on county property, best I know. So how would this?
I think any restrictions that the county wants to place upon the use of this property, this would be the time to do that. If you have ideas that you would want to incorporate into this lease.
I think about the liability issues. I mean, that's just one of the things in this lease. There's several other things in the lease that caught my attention, but that's just one of the.
And again, we have not so much looked at it from the standpoint of those issues that y'all have thought about, because y'all just now communicating those to me.
And I just had saw the lease.
But I do think that if you have points that you want to make or things that you want to see incorporated into this lease, tonight would be a good time to discuss those. Or in the.
But is that a legitimate concern? I mean, if the town is considering having and I don't know where that conversation is with the town, but I just know what I've read, that we consider having alcohol at different events or all the events. And so if that would include at the gazebo, which is county property leased, and the description of what is exactly leased in here.
We don't have it yet.
Okay.
The Exhibit A, which is to be attached to the lease, which would describe the meets and bounds.
So it's not ready, this is just, so it's not ready to be voted on?
I think there are some things that I raised, and I sent out a memo to each of the commissioners, probably, let's see, of about 11 things that I thought needed a little bit of work. I think the draft as a whole is a pretty good starting place for discussion, but there were 11 things that I brought to your attention. And just because I mentioned those 11, that doesn't mean that the commissioners don't have other concerns. I think it's great that y'all went ahead and took a look at it. I know I got some communication from Carl. He had some concerns, and we've conversed a little bit about his concerns.
Sorry?
Some of the concerns that I mentioned, is that?
No, one of my concerns that kind of rose to the top was, the use of that property, and the town having exclusive use of that property, and then if we want to have an event, then maybe we get permission from the town to use it because they have it leased. So, I think.
And that's an interesting.
We have a good partnership with the town, and we want to continue.
Oh, yeah.
We want to continue that, but, and I can't imagine it not, but if you are putting something on paper and everybody sign it, it kind of needs to cover everything that needs to be covered.
But I think since the first time that leased until now, some things have changed. And when you're signing, and I realize that either party can, just in a short while, it can be dissolved. But,
it would be longer now.
yeah, it's longer now, and also there's just some things that, it don't explain the boundaries, and it don't explain the liabilities. I really didn't see.
I think it's important to understand, you raised one point about possible liability in connection with alcohol use there. Carl's raised a point about the possibility of maybe reserving some right to utilize the property by the county when it needs to. Those are kind of conflicting goals under the law. If you lease, outright lease, and give exclusive possession and control to the town, there is going to be a much better argument that they're going to be able to, or they're going to be responsible for people injured on that property. Now, of course, when the lawsuits start getting filed, the owner gets sued, the lessee gets sued, everybody gets sued if there's a problem out there. But if there's a lease and one party has exclusive possession and control, they are likely going to end up being the responsible party.
So as far as tonight, and this is just, I think we just started and the chairman and Mr. Hickman not here, so tonight, I mean, I realize that it expires on May the 5th, and we won't be back in session until after that expires, but we want the town to know that, and just like Commissioner Gillespie said, that we certainly are not saying no in any way.
Sure.
But they are.
Need to talk about it.
There's some concerns that I think that needs to be addressed that maybe we didn't think of in the last, because none of us here in the last believe so. But I think there's some concerns that need to be discussed. And you brought up some of them, and there's some others.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I would ask the board to consider, given what you're suggesting here, that if you're not going to move forward with this evening, that you consider authorizing the county manager to sign an extension for an additional month or something along that line, just so that there is not a lapse in the ability of the town to use under the terms of the existing lease.
I certainly don't see no, but I don't see no problem with that at all. I mean, until we can get it, I think you'd be more confident, I think, with the manager.
And I would
It would
agree.
just allow everybody a little more
Yeah,
opportunity to iron things out.
Right, I believe there was something in there also about maintenance, maintaining the property or maintenance of the property.
Yeah, I think the maintenance provision is pretty good. It puts the obligation, from the county's perspective, it puts the obligation on the town to do the maintenance of any improvements that are on that property. So that's a good thing from the county's perspective.
So do we need a
There are
motion?
some issues though about if they wanted to do further improvements on the property. In all likelihood, whatever they would propose would be good for them as well as good for the county. But I do think it's valuable for the county to have a say in that process and to have a possible project that the town is proposing for some portion of that property brought to the county and approved by the county before it's done.
Okay. So, do we need to make a motion or just by consensus authorize the county manager to go ahead and extend it?
I think you'd need a motion and approval of that motion to extend for a
To
period
extend the existing lease
for a period of month.
for a period of 1 month, while
Let me see what our date,
while-
let me see what our date's gonna be in June. Maybe if we could get it to that date, it might be valuable.
On their alcohol.
Pardon?
Well, I don't know, where does the town, where,
They're not. I
just
mean,
off the record, where do they,
They're not. It's not gonna be on any town property or anything. They're saying that nobody in the town wants to have alcohol on any town-owned property or streets or sidewalks or anything. We're talking about specific individual uses at businesses that are inside the city limits, but nothing on town property.
What was that date in June you said, Chester?
Look here and see,
is the only conversation they had was at the retreat?
They talked about it the last
See
board
the
meeting.
12th.
Well,
There was a question behind the rathskeller, where that street ended, on where Stewart Street ended, where it became, where it was no longer town property and became private property.
So maybe the 14th there.
That was where the question was. If it's private property, it's not there. But if it's Stewart Street, if there can be an exemption because the street kind of runs out. But the general consensus is they don't want, I mean, they don't, it's not like they're gonna have downtown festivals.
I
They're
just
looking
can't
at,
imagine the pumpkin roll, somebody,
no, they're looking at what Canton does, is Canton's ordinance is what they're doing, which prohibits it. And then allows for a case-by-case basis, but it prohibits it on town property.
I know they were looking at other towns, and some other towns are very,
They wanna look at Canton's ordinance to model the town's act.
so, what'd you say, I'm sorry, Chester.
I would recommend that you give thought to extending it a couple of days beyond your June meeting. That way you can discuss some at your May meeting. Give me marching orders, Derek marching orders of what we need to negotiate with the town, and a little bit of time to do that and accomplish it without there being the possibility of interrupting what the town
So our
might
meeting
have
is
planned.
June 15th.
It's, our meeting's June 12th. We'll do it a couple days beyond. So what we'll need is a motion to authorize me to enter into a lease extension
Until June 15th.
for the current lease until June 14th.
Okay. You heard the
Guys.
recommendation of the county attorney and, Mr. Chairman, you have a
Makes sense to me.
comment?
I was just gonna say it makes sense to me too.
Lease extension of what date? June what?
June 14th. Extend the existing lease. Is that a motion, Mr. Shields?
Yes, sir. Second.
Motion been made and seconded that we extend the existing lease with the town of Franklin regarding the gazebo property until June 14th, 2018. Any further discussion?
Mr. Manager, if you would not mind, if you could reach out to the town manager and make sure that she understands
Yeah.
that there's just some minor stuff that we want to work through
I can do that.
and that we have the town absolutely look forward to working with them on this and many more projects.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
We love it.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Okay. Now we'll move on to the fireworks permit request. You see that in front of you. This is, application supporting documentation for a fireworks show scheduled for June the 2nd, 2018 at Old Edwards Inn at the Rockwood Lodge in Highlands, North Carolina. This is, they have met all, with the fire marshal's request. This is for a private wedding ceremony. They have met all requirements and submitted all forms. This is fireworks in a box. And, but they do have to have this board's permission.
And a permit.
And a permit.
This is up for fireworks at Rockwood.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Do what, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sitting here with Mr. Delaney, the CEO of Old Edwards, and he said, please approve it.
Okay. So they have met all the insurance requirements, but they do need permission from this board. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion that we permit
As applied for.
to have the private fireworks in Highlands for the private wedding.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Okay, then we're gonna have a wedding. Okay, so now we move on, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bill, as I said earlier, we have done this for the past 2 years. Basically, the North Carolina Department of Transportation requires Sourwood Running LLC, who puts on the Smoky Mountain Relay Running event, which goes through multiple counties. They require each county that it's going through for the Board of Commissioners to acknowledge and basically approve the fact that the race will be occurring in Macon County.
Make a motion that's been approved as read, presented.
Motion been made and seconded that we approve the Sourwood Running Festival. I guess that's what they call it. There's several
The
counties
Smoky
involved.
Mountain Relay.
Smoky Mountain Relay. Any further discussion? Yeah, I'll be participating. I'll be driving the lead car. All those in favor say aye. Any further discussion? Thank you. So we'll move on. Mr. Manager, did you have one more? Or is that it?
Oh, that's it. It would be on the consent agenda.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Gentlemen, you have the consent agenda in front of you. Are there anything anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, we'll entertain a motion. You have the minutes, you have the budget amendments, 162 through 166, the tax releases, the grant, the project ordinance for Duke Energy, the Helping Home Fund, the grant project ordinance amendment for the PNC Healthy Housing, ad valorem tax collection report, which is just a report. If not, we'll entertain a motion. We approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that a motion.
Motion been made and seconded. We approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. And I didn't see no appointments on the agenda. We don't need a closed session?
No, sir.
So with that, gentlemen, we'll entertain a motion to talk to Mr. Shields. Hold on just a minute.
I didn't make I just want to remind, this Thursday, 12 o'clock, Dorothy Crawford's thing.
No, that's the 20th.
It's not this Thursday?
No.
24th. Okay, then, this Thursday, the Iowa Valley, School, April the 12th at 6 o'clock, you'll have the Leadership and Literature event there. And, anything you want to add to that?
The Leadership and Me program, not fake performs, it's one of their big fundraisers to be able to run that program in the school system.
Tickets are $25 per person. And, I saw the principal this morning, she said she'd like for us to give out the invitation to come.
How long does that last? I mean, what's the times on that?
I don't know if I.
They got a tasting buffet.
It's a dinner and show
Yeah,
from
make
Mountain
it see.
Faith.
Okay.
I believe it
Anything
starts
else
at
before we adjourn?
6. It starts at 6.
If not, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope everything works out well for you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Seconded by Mr. Shields. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good rest of the week.
Good job, Mr. Vice Chair.
Hope everything works out, Mr. Tate. Good luck.
Do this. I was like, one thing is to run the mile, you know? I ran half a mile. I couldn't do a mile. Well, I ran and walked it. So I didn't drop it down a time.
No, it's not Macon County. Now, you read Cherokee County. Now, they, I'm sorry, but now, they got some simple in Cherokee County. The problem is they said, well, you know, see, for a while, you could spot out. So,
Those ordinances that have been,
Yeah,
not
we
going to be
did,
enforced.
what's it called,
The
wall
State
ball?
Wildlife
We throw the wall up and
Resources
squat, the ball up and squat. We did walk like
will
4
not
minutes,
enforce
I mean,
it.
you could do. We did push-ups, yeah,
Because
push-ups
people
for a
misread the
minute,
statute and think the county's
push-ups
having
for
authority
a wall
with
ball
the
for a minute, oh, but jumping
and
above
that,
the
now
wall.
that,